Painting miniatures is a lot like painting on a 3D canvas, something you could handle and inspect rather than just stare at. That's what model making is all about, and today I'm painting this Japanese food cart model I made recently. It was quite a project creating this, using laser cutters, 3D printing, and 3D modeling all squeezed into a 15-minute video to make some fan art. But all that technical, digital, and nerdy crap is boring. Painting is much more entertaining, isn't it? I mean, the thumbnail for this video is much more appealing, and you're curious to see how it was made, aren't you? Anyways, the model currently looks like a dumpster fire on my workshop desk, so if you like painting, cute cats, and model making, stay tuned. If you missed the last video, basically, I made a food cart model based off this artwork by Nuomi. I thought it would be a fun and unique project, and this was the result of all that work. It isn't assembled completely and lacks any color, but I can fix that. Before that though, there are some things I have to fix. I lied to you. There is nerdy crap in this video. It's a small issue, but some wood pieces were cut like this. See the issue? I never thought about it when I was designing this, but I forgot to cut the wood the way a plank would be cut in real life. I guess I have to recut them. Fortunately, this is extremely easy to do. The Algolaser is the machine that made this model possible, and it's a pretty good 22-watt laser cutter. It makes cutting these tiny wood pieces easy and literally just took seconds. I highly recommend getting one of these if you're interested in making miniatures, since they're so useful. If you're a bit nerdy and want to know how to make your own wood models with laser cutters, check out part 1. Another issue I need to fix, or rather something I need to improve, is sanding. Look at these pieces. They look nasty with warts, holes, and print lines. Where the frick is this guy's leg? Tend to them like a delicate pair of nails. This is definitely a necessary step to ensure your resin pieces don't look like trash. But what about the wood pieces? Those don't look nasty at all. In fact, they're perfect. Well, unlike the resin pieces, wood isn't supposed to be perfectly smooth and square. Looking at the art reference, there are grooves and cracks. Ironically, resin and wood are polar opposites in what processing you need to do to them. Again, for this I use my file and some sandpaper, but I really try to violate the wood. A file is super helpful since it's hard, unlike sandpaper. The difference in texture is staggering. Now we can finally start painting, but hopefully you can now see how important prepping your canvas is in painting miniatures. Texture is a big part of how color is seen, and you'll see how prepping improves the final project. The hardest thing about painting has to be choosing the right colors. This is especially true when you have a reference which you're expected to follow. The problem with 3D miniatures is that the color constantly changes due to lighting conditions, and figuring out if this brown really is the right one is tough. I use scrap wood to test the shades constantly to be accurate. I'll be using acrylic paints for this project, and I dilute them in water to make the paint act like a stain. This is to ensure the wood doesn't feel painted over. Meanwhile, the red parts are the opposite and should look painted over. At this point, it's just a base coating adventure with various colors and adjustments. When I'm painting my resin prints, I realize it's kinda hard to see imperfections until they're painted. Well, clear resin is hard to see in. For pieces like these, I go back and sand them again. Other pieces that are good are super glued on. Assembling the whole set removes the clutter and helps me make some progress. For some special pieces, I had to add some wire. This was to attach to these banners and to fix the cat's leg. This milliput thing is great for touching up model mistakes, and it's basically some air dry clay that doesn't go bad when you leave it in the drawer. Before gluing on pieces like the wheel, I decided to shade parts of the model first. By using darker paints, you can add artificial shading to give more depth to the set, and it's really what separates good models from bad ones in my opinion. I do it before I glue on some pieces since I won't be able to reach them later on. Soon enough, the model started looking like the actual reference, which is reassuring. I realized Nuomi never really accounted for the center of mass on his artwork, and it tips over easily. Now I understand why engineers and architects get paid so well. I decided to glue it on the base as a safety measure, but of course this meant it had to be painted a bit. As a reminder, this base was inspired by this 3D model of the artwork. I thought it added a warm feel to the art instead of the blue vast emptiness in the original. As done before, I play around with fake shadows on the base too, the middle being a darker, gloomier color. After gluing on the chairs, this shading technique can be applied to the rest of the model. You can really see how in the original artwork, it's shaded with different colors to make texture. These yellow highlights are definitely something I need to include. So in the model, I just paint them on, like a 2D painting using lighter shades. And this is what I meant by model making being very similar to painting on a canvas. Today I'm lucky though because I get to use a reference from an artist that's better than me. Here's the time to also paint other details, such as this red square and the Japanese writing on the banners. This was really tricky because it's so hard to paint. At least on the wood, I can sketch out what I'm painting. But even then, you need a steady hand and a small brush. On today's project, I have a surprise for you, though you may have suspected it already. On the original artwork, the lanterns let off a glow, and while you can try to paint this onto the model, it will never really glow, unless you add lights. We are going all the way and becoming electricians! I'm not too good at it yet, but I can wire some simple lights on an on-off switch. The problem is just attaching them and hiding the wires. This is especially hard with lanterns because they're just being held on with a thread. Remember, I'm an artist first and foremost, and if it works, it works. At this point, it's a simple sprint to the finish line. Everything is almost in place and just needs a bit more painting. Studying this artwork really expresses how much exaggeration you need in your art. Bright yellow highlights and fake shadows feel weird to add, but once they're on, you can't imagine the model without them. These final touches are really what make these models pop, and it's a style I will be improving on in the future. With the last bit of paint drying, the model is finished. The final model, with the right lighting, really looks like a drawing. In fact, I was afraid the thumbnail would look fake, so I went through several iterations of thumbnails until I got the right one. In short, it turned out great, and I'm glad I was able to remake such an iconic art piece. Nuomi's Yatai cart artwork isn't popular, but it definitely inspired many other artists in their Japanese-themed creations. To the point that if you imagine a Yatai cart, you might be thinking about this design. If you're interested in model making, check out the Algolaser in the description below. Nuomi has much more amazing art, but I have so little time. Perhaps you can try making your own fan art in the future. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to make some more fun.